Hey everybody, Marcus C. Williams here. And yeah, let's bring that in. Oh, now it's in too close. Now it's in frame. How,
It's okay if it's a
how
little in frame.
how are we doing? How are we doing? All right. Are we doing good? How are the sound levels?
Good.
All right. Fantastic. Messed up my whole introduction. I had a whole thing. Jeez, Austin.
You got to talk into the mic. You can introduce all
you-
you want as long as the mic's right there.
Well, it's not the mic that makes the difference. Maybe I just need to speak much louder, like I'm yelling at a child for acting a fool in the grocery store.
There you go. You get
There we go.
one or the other. As long as the mic picks you up, you're fine.
So,
And not your phone.
and not my phone. Because if the mic. Anyway, welcome you guys. Marcus C. Williams here, and welcome to Marcus Made in America. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Boy, have we got a nice show for you. But first off the bat, if you are a little soft or you might feel like your feelings might be hurt, this is not the podcast for you. Please turn it off and do not share it with your friends. Because I don't want anybody to say that they felt any type of way or they heard something that made them offended, because I am not able to guarantee you that everything that I say will not offend you. I'm sure that at some point, if not today, in the future, I may possibly offend you. And to be honest, I'm just here to tell you things the way that they are, not to be soft on your feelings. So if you have ever been identified as a snowflake or as a person who is very sensitive, you may not want to listen to this show. And we're going to put a rating on this of NR17. All right. So, America, we've got a lot of stuff going on. Jiminy Jillikers. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. And to be honest, I think that we should start with Kentucky. Kentucky, the great state of Kentucky. So Kentucky had a very serious impact by the tornadoes the other night. So they had one tornado that was almost 2 to 4 mile wide, and it went for 227 miles. Let me run that back to you. There was a tornado. You know how a tornado goes? It comes up and then it goes around a couple minutes and then it goes away. It came down and it went for 227 miles. That's amazing. That's remarkable. That's astounding. And that's not normal, people. Okay. So something is seriously going on here. You're not able to say that it's global warming or anything like that, because that's just not real. That's like not a real tornado. Tornadoes don't behave that way. They don't do that. And for 227 miles, that's a record. That's a world record even. It's not a joke. Drink water. So with that happening, we have to start to ask ourselves, what's really going on in the world? And do we actually know what's going on? Because at this point, my question is, if that can happen in the middle of December, when tornadoes don't even happen in the middle of December like that, and it happens in Kentucky in a specific area for 227 miles, just not normal, out of nowhere, poof, crazy tornado. You see a lot of tornadoes when you start to go down south. You go south of the Mason-Dixon, and a lot of that stuff starts to happen. But for 227 miles, you have to start asking yourself, well, where the heck did that thing come from? And what's really, really going on? So I think that it's really, really poignant to point out the fact that maybe we're looking at this the wrong way, right? Maybe we're looking at this as a natural event. But what if it's not natural? What if this event isn't natural at all? What if it's something else? Something maybe more nefarious, maybe more devious, maybe more shrouded in shadows that we don't know about. Maybe, well, let me give you a little bit background where I'm thinking of when it comes to this. So in 1940s on paper, even though it goes back before then, the military was experimenting with what you would call weather manipulation. They started seeding clouds with silver nitrate and potassium. Okay. So that was back in the 40s. And this is a known. You can go look it up on the internet. Like, it's not a hidden fact. Like, this is real. So when you used to hear people saying, "Oh, the government can control the weather. The government can control the weather." Well, gee golly gosh, if they could do that in the 40s, imagine what they could do now. Okay? They put a man on the moon with basically a calculator, and now you've got something that's greater than most supercomputers were. It's amazing in the palm of your hand. So think about what they could do now if they started that type of technological advance back then. They've got programs like HARP. If you're not familiar with that, look that up. Very interesting project, very intriguing there. And some other projects as well. Now, there have been weather modification departments all across the nation in which they perform these type of projects. And I'm not talking about the military, I'm talking about on state level. So if we know that that could be done, and you used to call people like say, "Oh, well, the government can control the weather." You used to call them crazies, right? But they were right the whole time. And something that's really peculiar is this. A couple years ago, they stopped calling these people crazy. And they started calling it, instead of weather manipulation, they started calling it geoengineering. So they were like, "Yes, let's geoengineer the world to save us from all that ails us." Okay. Since then, we know that Saudi Arabia has used this. Okay. They had a whole big project on doing this. And we know that China did. China did a weather modification on a size of land the size of the Gobi Desert. Now, I don't know about you, but China's pretty big. And if you know how big the Gobi Desert is, that's big as a bad boy. I'm trying to tell you right now. Okay, that's fatter than Santa Claus after he ate all of the cookies on all of the house at all of the houses over Christmas Eve. I'm trying to tell you right now. But that being said, to come in and start talking about China, we have to really look at the attacks that China has made on the US so far that we haven't really been paying attention to. So they sent the Asian murder hornets to the West Coast to attack people and make it so you couldn't really farm and stuff over there, and to get rid of the bees, which is a separate conversation because that's what these murder hornets do. Then over here on the East Coast, they put in the lantern bugs. Okay. So they also sent us seeds in the mail. Do you remember the seeds in the mail that they put out there that the FBI and everybody was like, "Oh, don't throw those seeds away. You got to burn them." Yep. Somebody put up HARP there. Yep. You don't throw those seeds away there. You got to burn them. So this is nothing but ecological warfare. This is a level of war that we've never been prepared for, that we couldn't contemplate or think about because we don't operate on that level as most Americans would. Because why would you? Who would think of something so evil? Like, that's really, really, really in the Bible. Like, I think it's Matthew 13:16 or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that that's what it is. It says, "And when you were sleeping, your enemy sowed weeds amongst your seeds and left." And that's what China's doing to us right now. Ecological warfare. So now we see this giant tornado in the middle of a country, our country, that's 227 miles worth of damage. Most destructive tornado, as far as length goes, in the history of us recording tornadoes all across the world, like not just in America. So you have to really ask yourself, could this possibly be a weather attack on us? We are fighting and going back and forth with China every day on everything from trade to this, or who's the big man, or whatever the case is. But the real hard line right now is Taiwan. And that takes me into the democracy summit that America had the other day, which it was supposed to be pushing for there to be more democracy across the world and more freedom in the world, even though right now America doesn't have a very high freedom rating. Okay. It's slipping. We're slipping. And we're not even a democracy. So I don't even really want to jump into that because we'll be here all day on how we're a representative republic and the people that we elect are supposed to represent us. And we're not a democracy at all. And we know that because of our founding documents and our founding fathers. That's the way that they set it up. Now, hey, Mike, I see you out there. So let's take a look at this and let's really, really think about this. When that democracy summit happened, China wasn't there, Russia wasn't there, and there were a notable number of other countries that weren't there. So it was really like a award for countries that have done the US's bidding or been our good buddies. You know who was there? Taiwan. Taiwan was there. I love Taiwan. Why do I love Taiwan? Because they're bold enough to stand up to the party. And the Chinese Communist Party is trying to destroy our way of life in America. But you know what? In America, our politicians are trying to destroy our way of life in America. So I honestly don't know if that's such a scary thing anymore, you know. But China is one of our largest trading partners, and Taiwan is one of our largest strategic, I guess you would say, friends and partners. And we sell them a lot of weapons too. So something very interesting happened during the pro democracy and encourage democracy summit that the US was hosting. When the Taiwanese, I think it was the prime minister, but it might not have been the prime minister, whoever their representative was that got up there, I think it was the prime minister, got up there and they had a little chart and they were talking about how great Taiwan is and how what they've done for democracy in their country, which they have done a lot. If you don't know the history on China, Taiwan is the national Chinese delegation, and China itself is actually the People's Republic of China, which is the communists. Okay, so that's an important distinction. But back to Taiwan. So on when they were doing a presentation on the little board that they had, Taiwan was a different color than China was, denoting that it was a separate entity in its own separate democracy from China. Now, in America, we have a one China policy. So the one China policy is basically we don't talk about the fact that Taiwan is its own free and sovereign nation, which is kind of shitty, honestly. Let's be honest. That's dead ass wrong because we know how bad China is and we know what they're trying to do to the rest of the world. I mean, they're trying to, I guess you would say, do what Europe did when they went and they recolonized all the world. That's kind of what China's doing. Just as bad, killing millions and millions of people, and taking over as much as possible as they can through their One Belt and One Road project, which is a separate conversation. But China's not a democracy, no matter what they want to say, Mike. It's not, and we know it because anyway, that's again separate conversation. We're not talking about that. But anyway, when the picture went up, and it distinctly showed two different colors representing that Taiwan was separate from China. Guess what the US did? The US pulled the plug. They pulled the plug on the Taiwanese delegation. Now, this is supposed to be about democracy and, freedom and freedom of speech and liberties and all of these things that are so important and integral to a democracy, or at least what they tell us, right? And they pulled the plug on Taiwan because they denoted that they were separate from China. But this was supposed to be a summit for democracy. Make it make sense. Now, after that, we had an amazing tornado that was a historic tornado that came out of nowhere that went 227 miles. I'm not saying it was China. I'm not. Could have been Russia. Could have been us. Could have been Saudi Arabia. I don't honestly know who it was. But I'm just saying that the case can be made very seriously that this extreme weather event was not actually an extreme weather event and was definitely weather warfare against our nation. Okay, whether it was domestic or foreign. Okay, and that's something that we should definitely be considering. Now, talking about foreign and domestic enemies of the United States, we've got the whole January 6th thing going on, whatever you're calling it, a panel, a committee, whatever they're calling it, in Washington right now. Okay. And one of the people that they've requisitioned to come in is Mike Meadows. Or is it Mark Meadows or Mike Meadows, Austin? Find out.
I'll find out.
I'm just gonna call him Mr. Meadows until we find out for sure. I don't want to call him the wrong thing. But Mr. Meadows was President Trump's chief of staff.
And Mike,
right? Okay. So I was right. Mike Meadows. So he was President Trump's chief of staff. Interesting thing.
No,
here.
wait, Mark. Sorry.
Oh, is it Mark?
It is Mark.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Don't do that to him. So anyway. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Yvette. Appreciate that. So Mark Meadows, he also served in the House of Representatives, I believe. Don't get me wrong there. I believe he was in the House of Representatives. But he was the president's chief of staff, and they were talking about going through some of his different things that text messages and stuff like that, because he said he is not showing up to that dog and pony show that they're calling a January 6th hearing committee. He said, I'm not going. He said, 1, executive privilege. 2, what they want me to talk about is too broad and not specific enough. And 3, go jump in a lake. So interesting, some of the text messages that they released said that Mark Meadows wanted the National Guard there. He requested that the National Guard be there earlier. And he requested that the National Guard be there to protect Trump supporters. Now, this is a very interesting thing. He requested the National Guard be there to protect Trump supporters and other patriots. Now, let's talk about that for a second, because I know a lot of people out there aren't very fond of Trump. So I could care less whether you like him, don't like him, don't care. But facts are facts, and facts are important if we're still talking about them, because like CNN would like to remind you, a banana is an apple. Or is it, oh, wait, is it not an apple, right? That's what they're telling you, no matter what. Anyway, they're full of malarkey. But the interesting thing here is that he wanted the National Guard there, and they weren't there, right? So they also seemingly, for some reason, which we still don't know, picked up the head of, what do you call the group? Picked up the head of, what are the people, those guys that are always at all the rallies that they think are crazy people, but they're not, they're really decent people. What are they called? Somebody tell me.
Proud Boys?
Proud Boys. There we go. They picked up the leader of the Proud Boys, you know, the Hispanic dude that's dark like me, that they somehow say is a racist white supremacist group, but they're not. They're a very interesting fraternal order, but I that's a separate segment for another conversation. But they picked them up. Now, remember, the Proud Boys generally perform security type of gigs. So it's interesting that they picked them up, that they picked him up, so he couldn't be out there to make sure that law and order was maintained and that the people's safety was looked after. Then we get this report that Mark Meadows wanted the National Guard to be there to make sure that there weren't any issues and that the patriots were safe. Now, that's very interesting. And they're trying to slay this man on TV right now. I applaud this man. That was very good and very wise. So now this opens up more questions. Why weren't there National Guard there? Even though Trump requested them, Mark Meadows requested them. What happened? Where was the failure there? You know who's responsible for the defense of the Capitol? Nancy Pelosi. But she didn't want them to have guns or anything out there or anything either. So it seems like all of this may have possibly been encouraged. I mean, anybody that's lived in America long enough or knows our history knows that the FBI has a history of doing things like this. That's why the other day they had those people marching in Washington, D.C., and they were like, oh, no, that's the feds. That's not real people. It looked like the feds for real. But the FBI has a history of doing that. The FBI blew up the World Trade Center in 1991. Yes, the FBI blew up the World Trade Center. I'll say it again because it's true. They did. They gave the munitions to the guy, and they encouraged the guy to go and blow it up because they were trying to call it an anti-terrorism, um, whatever you want to call it. Bull jive. Who knows what their true intent or purpose was behind doing that or what they wanted to cause? But it happened. It happened. It really, really happened. That's a real thing. And that's not the only thing, the history that the FBI had with sabotaging Malcolm X, that they had with sabotaging the Black Panthers and all types of other organizations throughout the country over the years. And they've been definitely the culprits that have seeded much of the terrorism in the nation that's inside domestically because they want to prove that there's so much the good people that they can do their job so they can get more funding. I'm not mad at that, but I'm kind of mad at that. Okay. But I digress. So we probably will never know what really truly happened on January 6th. But that man, Mark Meadows, here's to you. Now, we've also got the craziness in New York State, which is where I live. New York State. I love New York State. Okay. I was born here. I was bred here. This is my state. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else for thousands. Okay. But what I do want is the repressive dictatorship that we're living under to be lifted. So I'm in Monroe County right now. And in Monroe County, our county executive has just kowtowed low to the high priestess, Governess Kathy. So, and I call her the high priestess, if you don't know, because she said that she speaks for the Lord and she knows what the Lord wants, which is just insane. Not even covering that tonight. But he instituted a mask mandate or a vax mandate. So you either have to be masked up, or if the restaurant or place of business wants to implement where you have to show proof of vaccination to come in, that's a thing. So now this is just out and out discrimination, segregation, and is pushing for a separate class of people. This is wrong. Okay. Way, way, way wrong. Okay. Do not comply. Period. End of story. Exclamation mark. Okay. But anyway, this is really problematic because the tyranny is setting in. And what they're trying to do right now is they're trying to NYC my upstate New York. If you know what's going on in New York City or not, I'll tell you real quick. Real quick, they're making it mandatory that you show vax passes in all the restaurants or all the public spaces, the library, supermarket, everything to get in. To get in right now. So you're going to have to show vax pass on your phone, and they're going to scan you everywhere you go. They're going to scan you. That'll be your mark so that they know where you are, who you're around, how often you go there, what you're doing, where you are at all times. Giving them the ability to collect enough data on you to know everything about you and predict your movements. Okay. And predict the movements on an independent and localized level to you as an individual. But on a massive scale, with that much data on that many people, you can predict the movements of the masses and what they'll do and how it'll affect everything else. And you can manipulate them easily. Okay. Because it's easier to manipulate a mass of people than it is one individual. We know this. Okay. This is a fact. But what's really concerning to me is that they're starting these mask mandates or vax only places because we know that the next step from there is going to be vax passports. Okay. Now, talking about the vax passports, what's my issue with the vax passports? Because you guys know I don't care whether you have a shot, don't have a shot, got 20 shots, smoke crack on the weekends. I don't care if you fucking put, excuse me in language, but I don't care if you put needles in your toes. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you snort detergent up your nose. That's on you. You put in your body what you want to. I don't care. More power to you. Be safe and be well. But don't infringe upon other people's religious freedoms and civil liberties by telling them what they're supposed to do. The big thing with that is this, right? All of that amalgamation and collection of data, a lot of data. Now, let's just pretend that the government is all altruistic and they're fantastic. That data is not safe. That data is not safe. They get hacked all the time. And that leads me right into my next thing, the Log4j hack. So the Log4j hack has been around a little while, but we're just finding out about it because they just released information to the public. So now businesses and corporations are scrambling to see if they can seal up this exploit, which is affecting hundreds of billions of devices all across the world, all across America, in many different departments, high-level departments, high security places, including the DoD, the CDC, the Homeland Security, and all these other agencies, including the DEA. Okay? So you make this make sense to me. The government is not able to protect any data. They can't even protect your social security number from getting out on the dark web. Okay. And if you've ever been a victim of identity theft, you know that none of this stuff is safe. So imagine them just having all of your data and somebody, boop, picks up all your data. They know your movements. They know who you're around. They know everything about you, where you go, what you do, what you look like, blood type, blood sample, all your history of all your medical stuff. They can be you. They can be you. Or worse, they can erase you. They can easily erase you, as though you did not exist, as though your barcode, your little QR code never even existed to begin with. And that, my friends, that right there, that's what's truly concerning to me. If you ask me what keeps me up at night, that level of government overreach and data manipulation is extremely concerning. Okay? Extremely. But, you know, that's not the only crazy thing we've got going on, because we've also got crazy inflation outpacing everything in the world that's ever happened, pretty much. So with the inflation this week, the Federal Reserve meets, and they're supposed to do something to save us. They have no plans. Federal Reserve Chairman Powell has no more tools in his toolbox. They've exhausted everything that they had. Remember, they told you inflation wasn't a real thing. Remember, they told you it was transitory. Now they're telling you it's good for you. It's good for you. Don't worry. Just cut back a little bit. You just eat meat twice a week. Just travel to go to your kids' sport games one time. Just take a vacation. Well, never. Just have a staycation instead. Because inflation is too high. The food costs are continually going up. The gas is going up. The propane and other things that you use to heat your house and natural gas is going up. And they're telling you that it's good for you. What it really is it's good for them. And they don't care about you. In the immortal words of Michael Jackson, all I want to say is that they don't really care about us. And if Roosevelt was living, he wouldn't let this be. Amen. Which is crazy, because we've got all of this going up right around Christmas time. Right around Christmas time, just in time for Christmas. We've got all these extra impacts on your wallet, on your life. Maybe you won't be able to get that Christmas duck or the Christmas ham that you make every year. Or maybe you'll just be able to get one side instead of two. It's something important that we really need to look at, because as they continue to push for different things like increased wages, we just see inflation just go. And as it goes up, the wages don't outpace the inflation. They tell you that it's what are they saying, 3 or 4.6 right now % that inflation has gone up, but meat's up like 30%. Gas is up way crazy. Any type of extra fuel that you use is up 33%. It's crazy. It's insane. And they're telling us that this is okay, that everything's going to be okay. Everything is not going to be okay. I'm going to cut it straight to the chase with you. Everything is not okay. We are not okay. America is not okay. And it's time for us, we the people, to stand up and say we've got enough of this government overreach. We're done with it. We're not having it anymore. No more ruling by executive edicts. No more ruling by executive orders. We're done. I mean, it wasn't bad enough that we have a war on Christmas already, right? You've heard it for years. But now you can't have any Christmas parties. You got to have a holiday party. Can't have this. You can't have that. No Santa Claus. No Jesus. Definitely no Jesus. Oh my goodness. Can't have Jesus because Jesus was a Jew. Hey, it's a fact. Jesus was a Jew. Jesus was a reformer of the Judaistic religion, and I just made Judaistic up, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think you got to say it like was a reformer of the religion that is Judaism. So, but anyway, it's interesting, right? So there's this war on Christmas, and it's getting more and more pronounced. But we also see a war on religious freedom, don't we? There's a war on religious freedom because last year they shut down all the churches. They said, you're not able to go worship your Lord. They said, you're not able to go worship in a mosque. They said, you're not able to go worship in a synagogue. What's up with that? What happened to separation of church and state? Why are y'all up in the church's business? What's going on with that? You know who else tried to get rid of Christmas and take the Jesus out of Christmas? Hitler. Hitler tried to get rid of Jesus and get him out of Christmas. Why? Because he didn't want the holiday and the festivities to have anything to do with Jesus because, well, Jesus was a Jew. And that was a problem. Okay. What we got here? Say, what does the flag mean every time I send a message? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know. Are you talking about the American flag? What flag are you talking about? I don't know. But yes, the Federal Reserve is a joke, Yvette. Scroll up a little bit. Let me see what else we got up here. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Invasion of privacy. Yep. So Hitler tried to get rid of Christmas too. And that's really kind of concerning because we see more totalitarianism, a push towards socialism and communism, and we see our rights and liberties being stripped away, especially our religious freedoms. Now, I just want to put this out there that Hitler also tried to make a national religion. So that was a thing too. It didn't work out, but he definitely tried and pushed for that. And now we've got this new religion, this Fauciism, or this all-knowing, all-powerful government. Okay? The religion of the government is what we have right now. People are just kowtowing low to the government, doing whatever the government wants. It doesn't matter whether it makes sense or not. Well, if you're around people that aren't all vaccinated, you should wear a mask. But if you're around only people who are vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. You got to make that stuff make sense to me. Because as we know of right now, the only people that are catching this Omicron variant are fully vaccinated people. And we're not just talking like they had 2 shots. We're talking fully vaccinated, boosters and all. Boom. And the report came out, there was a report came out yesterday, said 80% of the people that are getting Omicron are fully vaccinated. The rest of them only have the 2 shots, but they don't have the booster. Make it make sense, you guys. Make it make sense. The people on the cruise ship, fully vaccinated. The people at the anime convention, fully vaccinated. And here's where all the outbreaks come from. But you want to tell me right now that people that are fully vaxxed in close congregation don't have to wear masks, but people who are not do? Make it make sense. Make that make sense when clearly they're able to transmit it. Oh, wait. They're also able to catch it, and they're also able to die from it, even though Omicron isn't killing anybody and the symptoms are extremely mild. However, they did say today in Britain that 1 person died of it, finally, I guess. But that person was fully vaccinated and they had pre-existing conditions that were like comorbidities. So it's really, really, really concerning that more people aren't paying attention. Because they just want to get shots in arms, right? That's what the president says. Shots in arms. Let's get shots in arms. Well, we're on a third booster already. Well, we're on a third shot already, right? And now Pfizer, the CEO of Pfizer, is saying that we need a fourth shot. Now, let me ask you a question. How many shots have you gotten for meningitis? How many shots have you got for hepatitis? How many? And when does it stop, right? If it works so well, when does it stop? And how can they say to you to take a booster when the booster hasn't even been changed or modified to fight off Omicron? They're talking about they're going to have to do a whole nother vaccine for Omicron itself, and it won't be ready until probably sometime next June. Wait a second, next June. That's almost 6 months away. Let me think about that. 6 months. That sounds familiar. I've heard people say that they want you to get these things about every 6 months. Well, Jiminy golly gosh, that really seems to ring true. That's right there, about 6 months out, isn't it? Huh. So you'll need another booster around then. Interesting fun fact. Australia has shots on order up till 2035. Interesting fact. The US is buying 1 billion shots every year in perpetuity, which means basically until they decide they don't want to anymore. They already have the contracts and everything for this already done. So this is very, very concerning. But let's take a lighter note for a second, right? Something light. Let's talk back about Christmas. Christmas is a wonderful time of year. It's supposed to be about goodwill towards men and peace on earth, right? Well, Ukraine looks like they're about to be invaded by Russia. What does the US say? And what do the G7 nations say? Because there was a meeting of the G7, the group of seven, the richest, wealthiest democratic nations in the world. And they said, oh, if Russia goes into Ukraine, we're going to enforce economic sanctions on them. You think that Russia gives a good golly gosh about your about your economic sanctions when they're taking over a whole country that's rich not only in rare earth materials but also in oil? Are you foolish? Russia doesn't give a good golly goose. Okay? And they're going to get way more to gain there by taking over Ukraine than it is to be worried about your sanctions. Like Russia gives a good golly gosh about y'all anyway. But I mean, we've got senators out there or representatives that are saying that we should nuke Russia first. And honestly, at this point, I'm kind of like, you know, if Russia goes into Ukraine, no way I don't see China going into Taiwan at the same time. China is a lot of things. One thing China isn't is foolish, and they'll definitely use any opportunity that they have to cede an advantage. Okay. And I'm pretty sure that they'd use that advantage to go into Taiwan. So, with everything going on in the United States right now, and our rights continue to be stripped away, and them continuing to mess with our privacy and things like that, I'm highly concerned about what's going on over here. I'm very anti-nuclear war, but I'm at this point, well, shoot, maybe a nuclear war would be our saving grace. That's a terrifying thought. Excuse me, that's a terrifying thought. You know, I think that you guys would agree with me when I say we deserve better from our elected officials. We really, really do. They're not serving our best interests, and they're not concerned about our liberties and freedoms right now. I am ever so concerned, and I know that you are too. But being that it's Christmas, the White House, The White House the White House Historic Association has put out their new ornament for this year. And their new ornament is Lyndon B. Johnson, the most racist son of a gun that has ever graced the halls of the Senate. Okay? The most racist person who has ever sat in the chair of the presidency in the United States of America. Okay? He was a known racist from Texas. Okay, I did a whole report on him, in-depth report on that guy when I was in school. That guy was a beast. I mean, nobody was a better politician than that dude right there. He was really, really talented. However, he was a freaking monster. Okay, a freaking monster. He's also the one who implemented all of those extra entitlement programs and rules to make blacks subservient to the government and force them to be on things like welfare and food stamps and so forth. Even though welfare and food stamps weren't his programs, he expanded them greatly and enforced laws in which you couldn't have a man in the house if you were getting social services. You couldn't, just different weird, crazy stuff to make people more likely to be in single parent homes and make them more likely to rely on government dependence for the rest of their life. And that's very dangerous. And it has been extremely painful and hurtful to the black people in this nation, especially. But I mean, hey, let's have Joe Biden, the guy that said that you're not black unless you vote for me, have him out there the same year that we put up an ornament for Lyndon B. Johnson, the most racist president. So I guess it's 1 and 1 together. Because what do they call Joe Biden? The last of the Dixiecrats? The Dixiecrats, the people who put into order Jim Crow. His homeboy was Strom Thurmond, noted racist, and that other dude that was the Grand Wizard. Do you remember that other guy's name, Austin? He died a couple years back.
You're talking about Duke?
David Duke?
Yeah.
No, David Duke's still alive, isn't he?
Oh, I don't know. He might be. He's been around forever, though.
Not David Duke. It was somebody else because he was a senator. David Duke was never a senator, right?
No, I think he ran. But
he never won. Somebody else. I'm not able to remember off the top of my head right now. But it's really concerning the path and the direction that we're going in. Let me tell you what my largest concern is right now. That not enough people are standing up. I do my best to encourage everybody who watches this and everybody that I know to stand up, speak up, and not to shut up. Because if we don't stand up now, we're going to lose everything. Absolutely everything. All our rights, all our liberties, all of our freedoms, and they're never going to return. Most of you are old enough to remember when you had a little bit more freedoms and liberties, and now they've kind of been stripped away. If you can remember before the TSA came in, bully on you, because that is some real serious tomfoolery right there. Okay. TSA, stripping away. Patriot Act, stripping them away. Everything now, stripping them away, stripping away more liberties, more freedoms, allowing for more government overreach and allowing for it to encroach more upon you every day and control your every behavior and all your thoughts. Now, it's interesting that they always tell us that America is a democracy, and we had a whole democracy summit, even though we're not a democracy, but that's a side note. But we're supposed to be promoting freedom and liberties and stuff like that, right? But we're extraditing Julius Assange, right? For putting out the information about all of the nasty, dirty deeds that we had going on, which now, let me tell you personally, I think that they should drag that man back here along with Edward Snowden. If it was up to me, the first thing I'd do as president is I'd drop a team right in Russia to extract that son of a gun. Okay, Edward Snowden would be home. Okay, I'm not playing that. And I'd be like, Russia, if you want some of this over this one dude, you got it. You want smoke, you got it. Because this dude's coming home. Okay, we don't take traitors lightly. But Assange wasn't even an American citizen. That's a whole nother thing. But where's Assange from? Sweden? I think he's from Sweden, right?
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. He's very, very white, super white. So one of those nations up there. Norway, maybe. I don't know. I think it's Sweden. But regardless, right? They're trying to extradite him, and he's probably going to spend the rest of his life in jail when they bring him back. So it's very, very, if he makes it to trial, right? Like, he's concerned that they're gonna kill him beforehand. I think he's had a couple of attempts on his life. I mean, you see, they killed McAfee. McAfee didn't kill himself. I can't tell you about Epstein, but I hear he didn't kill himself either. But that's a whole nother thing because everybody's forgotten about McAfee. Um, but the freedoms and liberties that we've enjoyed, like in the previous generations, we'll never know again. Okay. Freedom to traverse our nation without all of the crazy extra tolls and just oversight and just going everywhere you can just freely. You can't really do that anymore. It's not the way it used to be. You can't even do most of the things that you were able to do freely when you were little. And if you're in my age group, like we just barely remember some of the freedoms that we had, and more of them are being taken away every day to make the children subservient with the government. And that's problematic because they're not going to know anything different. All they're going to know is Big Brother. Big Brother is always watching, always monitoring you, and you must conform or die. And that's just terrible. That's absolutely horrible. It's abysmal. And as I say, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Because the fact of the matter is that if we don't stand up right now, let me be very clear on this. If we don't stand up right now, we're going to lose everything. Everything's going to be gone. It doesn't matter. I talked to a lot of people over the last week and a half, important people and stuff like that. And they're all like, oh, yeah, well, if it goes any further in New York State, then we'll stand up. Then we'll stand up. What? You're just delaying war to the benefit of the enemy. This is evil. This is pure evil what we're going up against right now. Okay? This is evil. Like this isn't what is it? This isn't principalities and stuff like that. Like this is straight evil. This is our government performing evil against us. Getting rid of our natural liberties and rights, our God-given rights, inalienable rights, right? Like we have those still, right? At least I thought we did. We were taught that. But they have also been working to buy up all of the constitutions. Okay? They've also been working so that they've made it so that kids can't read cursive. Not that it was easy to read cursive because everybody has their unique handwriting, but now they won't know they won't be able to see, or even I guess the better way to say it is they won't be able to translate older documents like the Declaration of Independence or like the Bill of Rights or like the Constitution because it was all written in cursive. I'm just saying, put two and two together, right? They're just completely erasing our history at every turn. So up here in Rochester, where I am, now city council is talking about, oh, we want to replace Nathaniel Rochester and Carol. I forget. He signed a Declaration of Independence because they were slave owners. Really? Really, city council? In Rochester, New York, if you've been paying attention lately, you might have seen Rochester, New York on the news for just a crazy increase in crime. I think we're up like 276 or something like that percent as far as crime goes. Like we're just really, really crazy skyrocketing up above our regular average. Like it's up above our 10-year average. It's really crazy. We're at what? After last night, I feel like we're at maybe about, what number are we at murders, Austin? Do you know?
I thought we were at like 85. Is
90?
it over that?
Might be, I think we're over 85 now. I think we're damn near close to 90. Okay.
All right. To be fair, I haven't checked in like a week. So.
Yeah, but people are getting shot over the last 2 days. I've read like 10 people have been transported by private vehicles to go to Strong Hospital. It's crazy. We're at 80 murders officially, Mike. Mike says we're at 80 murders officially. I don't even know if that's accurate anymore, right? Can you double check that, Austin?
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
Yeah. So, but we're damn near close to 90 murders. We might break a whole 100 before the year is out. We got what? 12 more days? How many days we got left? Almost 15 more days. 16 days left. Okay? To break 100. And we're fast on the pace.
Yeah, Mike was right. It was 80.
It is 80?
Yep.
Oh, Mike
apparently,
says he read it in the paper today.
Apparently
Fantastic,
we reached
Mike.
80 yesterday. So, woo.
Fantastic, Mike. Not fantastic on the murders, but very, very sad. So we're real close to 90. We're getting up there. And that only includes the people that we know are dead, that got murdered. Not the bodies that are still yet to turn up. Not the bodies that are missing or gone. Not the missing people who we have hundreds and hundreds of missing people over this course of this year, which we don't have any bodies for them. They haven't turned up in other places or anything. So who knows how many of those people are being not counted in this murder rate? It's just crazy. And the city council wants to take their time and say, oh, we need to rename. You don't have time to rename anything. Okay? You got to work on making it so that our people that are supposed to be being able to serve and protect us, the police, okay, get retention bonuses. Okay? You need to be making sure that the police get better health care. You need to be making sure that the police get more paid time off. You need to be making sure that the police get the number of recruits that they need. And to start to do that, you got to make it so you get rid of all of this police hate that a large portion of the people on city council in Rochester are actually pushing. We had somebody today say some nonsense, and I had to comment on them. I'm not even going to talk about her right now. I can't. Well, I could, but I'm just... It's frustrating. Anyway, so somebody said that we should look and it's crazy, right? Because they brought up an article from Erie County. From Buffalo, talking about police response times and how they're different in different areas. Well, here's the thing about police response times in Rochester. If you wouldn't have got rid of the whole goddamn recruiting and stuff from last year and the whole police academy last year, maybe we have some more people. Okay, even though the numbers for turnout have been ridiculously low, not just for the police, but for the county sheriffs, for probation, parole, right? For parole and for any other thing. Look, the FBI is hiring, everybody's hiring. Go be the police, you guys. There's good money in it, and you can get a pension at the end, and that's the most important thing because you have something to take care of yourself with later on. Okay, so when we look at stuff like that, in Rochester, where I'm from, it just shows and displays a more serious issue going on all across our nation. And that's the priorities. Our priorities as a nation should be our liberties and freedoms first and foremost. Preserving our Constitution. Like when you enlist, you say that you're going to preserve and fight for our Constitution and stuff like that. Like, and uphold it. Like, but they're not. These elected officials, and most of them have taken oaths for this stuff too. They're not standing up for our Constitution or our liberties or our freedoms. They're continuing to get rid of religious freedoms left and right. No more religious exemptions. And oh my God, bro, right? Like, can we talk about the Supreme Court? How from New York State, there was a lawsuit that went all the way to the Supreme Court for some doctors and nurses because they got rid of the religious exemptions, and it got pushed out. It got pushed out of the Supreme Court. Aside from 3 dissenting judges that wrote up some dissenting stuff, Clarence Thomas wrote up something. He said he would just not have gone for it point blank. And then I think it was who else wrote some stuff up on it? Was it Gorsuch? Was it Gorsuch or was it Kavanaugh wrote something on it?
I don't know. Hold on.
Yeah, see if you could take a look. But it was only like 3 of them that even said anything really. Where's that? What's the head guy's name? I gotta look his name up. Chief of Supreme Court. Chief of the Supreme Court is Roberts. Did Roberts say something about it? No, I don't think he said a gosh darn it thing, right?
No, I think it was Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Neil Gorsuch.
Yep. So it was Gorsuch. Yeah, and where the fuck is Kavanaugh, right? Where the hell is Kavanaugh? Kavanaugh, what's up, bro? Brody, what's good? What's the lady's name? Geez, they didn't like her either. They thought she was too conservative when she got in there. Trying to think of her name. Let's see. So anyway, whatever the lady's name is, who's on the Supreme Court, they thought she was so conservative and this, that, and the third, and she didn't say anything. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for her to say something. What's her name? There she is. What's her name?
Sotomayor?
No, not Sotomayor. She can kick rocks, bro.
Kagan?
Not Keegan.
Barrett?
There she goes. Barrett. Yo, and where the hell is Sotomayor, right? Like, I'm the big civil rights person. Oh, I'm so awesome. Civil rights, religious freedoms. Sotomayor, where you at? Come on, man. Yeah, Mike Comey Barrett. Got it. Thank you. Appreciate it. That one came in from YouTube. But it's crazy. It's crazy right now that our Supreme Court justices are just spitting in the face of the Constitution and the American people, not standing up for religious freedoms and religious exemptions, and not giving a good goddamn what the states do as far as your religion goes. Okay? We already know that they're trying to get rid of your religion. Doesn't matter what religion you have, unless your religion is government. They don't care. They're controlling and making sure that everything starts to go away. This should have been an easy open and shut case. Government says that you can't have a religious exemption. That's some bullshit. We're not going for it. Done. Case dismissed. Okay? That's really simple, open and shut. Like, there's not even, like, they're up there talking about Roe versus Wade and stuff like that right now, which don't even get me started on that case because we just don't have the time. It's just poor craftsmanship. And at this point, they might overturn that thing because the person who's trying to argue it is saying, oh, well, there's precedent. Oh, well, there's precedent. Doesn't say that it's in the fucking Constitution, you dingbat. Like, what type of lawyer are you? Like, why didn't I finish my law degree? The fuck is wrong with me? I should have done that. Because these people out here call themselves lawyers are trash. Dude, then the Supreme Court justices is right up there with, man, woo. Maybe I'm feeling a little salty right now, but it's extremely upsetting because I consider myself to be a religious person, you know. But it's concerning that the rights and liberties that are enshrined in the Constitution, that are right there in the Constitution, the Supreme Court won't stand up for them. Their whole job is to stand up for the Constitution and take constitutional cases based on the Constitution. What the flying flimity gibbets? Okay. They want to get rid of religious freedom. Now, this all goes back to everything else, right? They're trying to strip of us of our freedoms and liberties, our rights to redress our government, our freedom of speech, all of these things that are right there in the First Amendment, you know, right there in the First Amendment, not to mention the Second Amendment and our guns and firearms and stuff like that. Oh my God, don't let me get started on New York State or even the federal government on that. And Biden's whole thing where he's been snatching up records of gun owners. Yes, that's a real thing. It's crazy madness, okay? But we're up for time today, you guys. So I know that we've covered a lot of stuff, and I just really want to encourage you guys to keep up the good fight. Keep standing up, okay? Because if you don't, we will lose everything. You are the hope for our future. You are the hope for our Constitution. You are the hope for our nation, and I need you to go be that hope and go out and inspire your friends, your families, and anybody else that's willing to listen, that it's time to stand up against government overreach. I don't care if you want our vax. I don't care if you're fully vaxxed. I don't care if you believe in all the vaxes. You can see and feel in your heart that this is wrong, and it's time for everybody to stand up united together because we're all being lied to by our government, and we can all smell that something isn't right, and we feel a little queasy in our stomach because we know deep down inside that this is wrong. So I'm going to encourage you all right now to stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. You guys be blessed and be well. I'll catch you next week. I guess we're still going then. I guess there was no...
Hold on. Wait, let me try.
Hey, look.
Hey, there it is.
There we go. log on to my Facebook and check me out, Marcus C. Williams, on Facebook.